the tools that we've all been researching, and I'll go ahead first, and then we'll just go down. But the first one that I have actually called Newsella, and some of you have probably already heard it or used it. I know that Alyssa and I have actually used it in our reading class. And it's a website that has nonfiction literacies. So a lot of them are actually articles taken from Los Angeles Times, Washington Post, and they put them into either grade levels that kids can actually read, or they'll put them into by standards, which is really cool. They have a variety of topics, so they have health, science, money, arts, sports, law, and then there's a whole section just dedicated to kids, so things that would affect them. A lot of them have school policies. One that I read last night is where their school needs to be more of a democracy, so it's interesting. It's things that they would affect them. So it's actually really good for students. They can choose whatever topic they want. If they feel that the article for, if they're in fourth grade, is a little too hard, they can move it down a level. If they feel that they need more of that challenge, they can move it up a level. So it's really easy for it to be student controlled. It comes in Spanish and English. It doesn't come in any other language, but it is organized really easily for them, so they would just do one click. There wouldn't be any searching for that section. One thing that I didn't really like was that there isn't any other language. I know that in my placement, a lot of kids speak French or Creole, so there's nothing to help them on that. Although there are articles that refer to those different cultures, they're just not provided in another language. Another thing that I didn't like was that if you have a specific article and you really want to use it, it may not be available in Spanish. Not all of them are bilingual. So the standards, there's 8 standards that they follow under, and they direct connected like right to Common Core. So as you're looking at Common Core, it breaks it down for you, and it chooses which articles match that. They have the individual articles, and then they actually have text sets. So one that they had was American history, they have Maryland history, and it's just a collection of articles that you can do. Like I said, like it's really easy to navigate. I was on there the other day and I could have figured it out in a second. It can be used for teachers, so I used it for guiding reading. I know that my teacher uses it a lot when she just wants an extra practice of reading, and they can use it themselves too. I know that they go on by themselves and they already know what to do, and there's worksheets, there's already lessons kind of them to guide them through it. So what do you guys think about it?
Well, I use this in my placement, and I know my method or my mentor teacher used it a lot in the class too. The kids really like it. I was kind of surprised because I think I came into this sort of thinking that students would rather read like a story, something made up, even like a little bit of a myth. But they really like informational texts, and this place is like the best that I've seen for informational texts. And I really like that it's aligned with the standards. Like when I went to get my article that I used in the placement, um, I went and moused right over the standards, and it told me exactly what standards I was meeting.
Mm.
And as a teacher, that's helpful because you don't want to spend a whole lot of time like thinking about the standards. You want to look at what content the students are going to be getting. So, and I do agree. I think that they should have it in more languages. I know that's kind of difficult, but in this area especially, there's a lot of students who speak Haitian Creole, and although it's meeting the needs of Spanish students with most of the articles, I think they're missing a big group of people.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. I know that we've talked about this in our creative arts class and in our language arts class. Our professors have said, this is a really great source. And I never even heard about it until, I was in, Block A. So I think it is super helpful that it has the standards. I think that's probably my favorite thing because, as Alyssa was saying, you don't want to spend a lot of time like, oh, what standards am I meeting? Like you just want to teach and you want to have them, look at the content and spend more time on the content. And so I really like how the standards, are put out there so you're not wasting, a lot of your time.
Yeah, it's a mostly free site, so when you're going through it, it's pretty cool because you can see it, but you do need to sign up for it. So you
Mhm.
can see what articles are available, but you can't actually read it until you make an account. And a lot of schools actually pay for it, so you can get the pro version. So for Pinehurst, I know they pay for it, so they'll already have the pro version with quizzes, with guided lessons. So if I'm a teacher and I am working at Pinehurst, I put in my name and they'll check it, and then they'll see, okay, she does work for Pinehurst. And then I have access to the pro version completely, which is really cool. But it's a little disappointing that it's not really free, but you can get kids to use it if you do have full access.
Yeah, I've seen it used in my placement, I think just once, and so I haven't seen much of it, but based off what I have seen, I just like that it's kind of it's a good way for students to kind of know what's going on in the real world without, actually having to like read a newspaper or look up things because it's just boring for kids. Um, but yeah, and they actually like enjoy they want to go on and look at it based off what I've seen in my placement. So I think it's a really cool idea.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely something that I would really like to use in my own classroom. I actually use it now. Justina, did you have something you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, my tool this week is called ThinkPort. It's actually, I feel like it's a combination of tools that we have already talked about, but it's put into one. It's a lot like the UDL Exchange, and it has some characteristics of Digo. So what ThinkPort is they strive to have the right materials, up-to-date information, and the latest technologies, and they put this all together into one massive website. Their partnership with the Maryland Public Television and Johns Hopkins University Center for Technology and Education. So they're published with some really, important businesses. So I think that, leads a lot to their credibility. Um, ThinkPort is they aim to help teachers teach more effectively, and they try to build the bridges between home and school. So they have four distinct experience channels, they call it. They have Think Classroom, Think Career, Think Technology, and Think Family and Community. And so what all these is they're just all types of different subject areas. So like for Think Classroom, I'll use that as an example because it's more for us. It's a lot like the UDL exchange where you could create your own lesson or use other lessons that other people have created. So I think that's really cool because you can use it helps enrich your lessons using multimedia. And then they also have a thing, and it's called My Idea Box. And that's where you can store a lot of the information that you find on this website, and it's a lot like your Digo. So the My Idea Box is a lot like your Digo. But basically, we've talked about UDL Exchange and we've talked about Digo. Just think about this into one major thing. And except for this is with the UDL Exchange, I feel like it was more for professionals, where ThinkPort, it does have, family and community options, which is really important to bridge that gap with, your students and their communities and things like that, which I think is really important. But that's about it. Do you guys have any questions about it or
Uh,
input?
I don't really have any questions, but I thought it was just really cool. A lot of times schools get really focused on not even including the parents or even talking about the community. So I like that that was a really big aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
and that they did have individual things. So you're talking about Think Classroom. I think my teacher would benefit from this a lot because I mean their parents are looking for a way to get involved and know what's going on, and they could actually see it, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I think sometimes it's not like the teacher's fault or even the school's fault, but there's just a disconnect between parents and the education that their students are receiving. So I think this would be, it seems like it's an easy way for that to all come together and for everyone to have like a shared space, and even going further involving the community, which I think we forget sometimes because you almost feel like you have to include the students, the parents, and the teachers, but then what about the community? They need to be a part of a community as well.
I agree. The only thing I wish that it did offer, which it doesn't, and this is kind of the same thing that Kelly was saying, is like with family and community. you know, this is America, and there are many families that don't speak English, and you know
Yeah.
that's just you know how it goes. But at least I didn't see anything that was able to kind of help bridge at least that gap. And I feel like at least in my placement, it's not that the family doesn't want to be involved. It's just that we have that language barrier.
Yeah.
So I just wish that you know there was something that could you know kind of break that down.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that sometimes it's this lack of understanding that parents don't get, and this potentially, if it did have that part or that aspect, I think it really would help, like you were saying, just so that is a huge downfall that it's so simple that they need a translation, they need just something that they can go off of, and then I think they would be more motivated because there's nothing more frustrating than not being able to communicate with your student about something so important like school. So if they had that aspect, this would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. But this is also the one thing I do like about it I didn't mention is it is free. But like you said, for Newsella, you do have to sign up for it, which can be a pain.
Yeah.
But you know, if you want to be a better teacher, you know, you might just have to go through that, you know, a little tedious step of signing up. But so I think that it's really interesting that you can just bring, you know, all the different areas of teaching. You know, you have your classroom, you have the community, you have, and it even said careers. You know, you're linking all of these things, so you're having, you know, classroom applications, real world applications, and I think that's really important for you know a student to see the authenticity in everything that they're doing. Alyssa, do you have any cool tools to talk about?
Yeah, this week I looked at TouchCast and their slogan is it looks like video and it feels like the web. And I can't remember who it was, but do you guys remember who talked about something where you could like watch videos and add like text, or was that
That was
you?
me.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
was
so,
both of us.
oh, okay. Well, this kind of reminded me of it, but it sounded a little more broad. It's a video creator and you can integrate tweets, polls, different types of texts, maps, photos, even newspaper articles right into it, and it can be very interactive. Like a student can click on it and interact with that Twitter poll or the map, whatever it might be. So it reminded me a lot of what you guys talked about in that aspect, but then again, it sort of opens up even more opportunities. And before I forget, I didn't see anything about another language such as Spanish, but in that case, like you can integrate a lot of resources that you would find. You would just have to know where to look. Like, for example, Nora and I, who are Spanish minors, may know a little bit more where to look for like Spanish newspapers than somebody who maybe didn't minor in any sort of language or doesn't have any background. So I could integrate it on purpose, but it doesn't do the work for me like Newsella does. Um, just some options for what I know other teachers have used it for is an interactive historical timeline. So you could even find like news articles from a certain time period and put it right on the video where they can interact with it. Tutorial videos, and I actually watched, it was kind of funny, the one video I watched from TouchCast was a man who was showing a tutorial of the update for TouchCast, and you can now change it where the screen does not have to be mirrored, so you can flip the screen however you want. And he was showing a tutorial, so it could be about anything. You could do a historical timeline or a tutorial about how TouchCast works. It's an endless resource. And then also reports, biographies, or book trailers. So really it seems like you could do anything with it. You can use all of its interactive features, or you could just record a video.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I
That's
really
really
like
cool.
that you can use like tweets and stuff. I'm not too sure how I would use it, but I feel like you know because social media is so big. There's so many you know companies out there advertising just through social media, and you know it doesn't cost. They're saving so much money by doing this. So
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like there could be a way that we could totally integrate that social media like area with like content. So I really like that.
Yeah. It seemed like what they were aiming for, it says Twitter streams, and I'm not exactly 100% sure what that means, but what I take from that is maybe you could find like a hashtag, like um, sadly the events in Paris, like we could take that as an example. You could create like you could put the Twitter stream about Paris, and that's kind of an educational resource just to see how people right at this moment, right on this day and time, are reacting to what happened, and your students can see that real time. So it's pulled right from the web, and it's as if you're looking on twitter.com at the hashtag, except it's right in your educational video.
I
Yeah.
really love that example you gave. I really love how that was like really like authentic, and it's a real issue that's going on right now. And I really love how you came up with that idea to just integrate it like seamlessly the way you did. So
Well,
I
thank
really
you.
like that. You're welcome.
Yeah, one thing that I was like really thinking about with this is that we talk about in a lot of language classes is how students are looking at how they would talk in Twitter and talk in Facebook and how they would actually talk on maybe a news video. So it'd
Mhm.
be cool to kind of compare, again, like you were saying about Paris or something, even just a local newscast about the tweets that were coming in and how
Yeah.
people spoke about that and how examine their words and they compare it to a newscaster where they're very articulate and this is how
Yep.
this kind of situation would be or the different dialects. I think it'd be really cool. Or even just see, like you said, global perspective on something that affects pretty much all of us. And
Yeah.
they don't really get to see that, but having it all in one space and in a video and then they have the tweets, everything's on there for them, that would be really cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's cool how you can. I mean, I did not personally make one, so don't quote me on this, but it really sounded like you could have, like, let's take the idea from Paris. You could have a picture of the Eiffel Tower just for background, and then you could have a Twitter feed, and then you can have a map of France right on there, and the student can go to the video and interact. Or if the teacher is manipulating it, you could have it up on the board and the teacher could be clicking on things to show the students. And each little thing will function on its own at the same space. So you can do a lot with it, I think. I think that's really cool.
Is it free?
Mhm.
As far as I saw, it was free. I don't know if there's like a premium version, which a lot of sites have.
Yeah.
Um, but from what I saw, you didn't have to pay for. You know what? I think it is free. Yeah,
I
it's
think you're
free.
right. It sounds like they would have that kind of premium site, but
Yeah, I think I completely forgot, but I actually do think it is totally free, which is another awesome feature of this because with all of that, you would think like, oh, you could put a photo and text, but you can't put a map. But I think it is free, so
very cool.
yep. Nora, did you find anything interesting this week?
Yeah, mine is called it's Web 2.0 Tools, and it's through Discovery Education. It's basically just like kind of gives you. It's a collection of just online like cool tools like we look at. It's just somewhere that you can go and it gives you different types of presentation tools and video and mobile and I think the other one is community tools. And it's just somewhere you can go and you can make your own or edit other people's content that they put online. And then presentation tools is kind of just like, I mean, I know I looked through it and Prezi is one of the tools that it gives you and other similar ones. And then there's video tools, which are just ways to integrate videos into classroom presentations or projects or anything. And then there's mobile tools like for polls or like podcasting or like social media kind of things. And then community tools, which I noticed one of them that it listed was Google Docs. So I know we've used that a lot. Yeah, so basically, it's really just a collection of tools that like you can use in your classroom. And it's also like it just makes it's really easily or it's technology that's really easily accessed for both like students and teachers and parents.
Is
So
it
it's
already
just
on there, or do you get to decide what's on there?
It's already, when I looked through it, like if I clicked on presentation tools, it has like it kind of gives you, it's just a way for you to get to the website itself. It tells you what's good to use.
It's funny, I didn't realize that this was on our list of tools to talk about. As I was going through and trying to add different submissions to my Digo account, I actually ran into Web 2.0, and I went through and I looked at all the different tools that they had to offer, and I actually ended up adding like a good 15 or so tools to my Digo just from using that tool, that Web 2.0 that you actually were just talking about. So I actually think it was really useful. I came up with a lot of, I keep saying cool, I don't want to keep saying that word, but a lot of interesting uses. So I don't know. I thought it was really interesting and useful when I used it, and I used it for my own personal use. So
Yeah, that's cool. I'm not really sure. Is it like a list?
Yeah, well, didn't you say so? There's a list on there, but it's
And you
actually
can't
well,
customize it.
no,
it is. It is a list. It's actually, he publishes it every so often.
Okay.
And people can actually go on, and if I'm thinking about the right one, people can go on and actually comment and be like, hey, this is a new tool
Oh,
that
okay.
I've come across. I really think you should add this to your list, and the man that does it will actually go back through and edit it and take people's requests
Okay.
and add them onto their list. And I don't know, I thought it was really interesting. It's kind of like a community too. I don't
Yeah.
know if Nora noticed it or not, but people were, giving feedback and sharing dialogue. So
Okay, yeah.
if
That
you
was
need to add
oh,
anything to Digo, I would totally recommend actually using this site.
well, I actually have one more that I was going to talk about. It's called Emaze, and it's pretty interesting because we grew up in the era of PowerPoint, and then all of a sudden we came into Prezi, and now we're at the next step. It's called Emaze, and this one is a lot more interesting, I think. I'm going to do a screen share with you guys, and let me know if it works. Do a screen share. Can you guys see it or no?
we see your
Um,
screen, but it's just the Google Hangout.
Okay, well then we won't do that. But it's really cool. So when you first get on there, you're gonna again have to sign up. I already created an account and it's free, so it's not even a big deal. Although there is a paid option that you can do, and they already have templates for you. So the templates are organized into maybe you want to do a business presentation or a fashion presentation. There's one for school that's already on there for a science report. And instead of actually having blank slide, it does an entire example for you. So theirs for school, I think, was something with science, and it was about the environment. And so every slide showed you different charts that they use. It showed you different ways to present the data. And if you liked it, you could go in and you click it and you change the data for yourself. And if not, you could import different things. So another thing that's very cool is, like I was saying with PowerPoint, say you already made a PowerPoint and you really want to put it in here, you can import your PowerPoint and put it into Emaze to make it just that much better.
That's so nice.
oh,
It's
that is so cool.
and so it's if you can share it. So it's a lot like Google Docs. So I can share it to you guys and I can share it to the world if I want to, and I can also explore other people's. But if say I only want it for a class or I only really want it for a couple of people, I'll make it private. And so on my account, I can see what I've viewed, what I've explored. I can see mine that are public. I can see mine that are private. So it's all organized really, really cool for me. And you can sign up through Facebook or email. So everyone has Facebook, everyone has an email. Very, very easy. I like it. It's very cool, very easy for kids to use. They just put in their data One of the drawbacks, though, is that if you're not, again, using the paid portion, you're not going to get all the features, and it definitely lets you know that if you're not paying for it, it will not give it to you. But one thing that was really cool was that it already had everything in there. You can have your own bio. So if I stumble upon Alyssa's emails and hers is just really cool, I'm really excited about it. I go onto her profile and I can see everything that she's made public. And it's kind of like you're the author and you're hearing about this author. So her bio will just be as if it's a Facebook account, and it will tell me some things that she's interested in or why she created an email, what else she may have, some upcoming projects. It's very cool. It's like Facebook, PowerPoint, Prezi, Instagram, all incorporated into one. I think that my kids, I have fourth graders in my field placement, they would absolutely love this. They don't really get to use anything but PowerPoint. So maybe they could take their pre-existing PowerPoints, put it into this, and make a completely new thing. What do you guys think?
I think it's super cool. This might sound, because I am old school, I really like using PowerPoint.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to be a little edgy one day, I could make my PowerPoint and then export it and make it into something cooler. But do you have to do like any work when you do that? This is just me, or
Yeah.
no?
I mean, if you wanted to present the work that they have already put in there, because they actually have real information, it's not just place your thing here. You could, but it would, probably
Yeah.
not make sense. So if you find something and you say, "Oh my gosh, that's the quote that I needed," you can keep the quote, but you can also put in your data, put in everything. Pretty simple.
That is so cool. I am so interested in this.
Yeah, actually, in my language arts class, we have to do little mini lessons for our class, and
Mhm.
one group, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, used emails, and we were all amazed, because like they did like it was called road trip, I think, and it was just something as simple as how to use correct punctuation, and it looked like we were driving down a road, and I felt like I was driving through my learning and like moving forward. It was just it was more interactive than just somebody clicking next on a slide. And even with Prezi, um, it is a little bit more interactive in that nature. But with this, at least the one template I saw, it was very I don't know the right word. Like you moved through it in a more fun manner, I think. I mean, I think students would really enjoy that. There's kind of always something stimulating to
Yeah,
watch.
you actually might have been, I didn't mention this, but it's funny that you bring that up. There is a 3D option. I'm not sure, I think you can get that if it's free too. So
Okay.
that you're going through, and like you said, you're going through the actual road trip or you're going on the bus, you're doing it
Yeah.
as if you're in it, and it brings up images and makes it 3D too. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I feel like this might just be a long stretch, but maybe you could do an interact. I'd never heard of this before, so I'm actually really interested in it. I didn't realize that like you could be like the driver of your own bus, but maybe you could do like an interactive field trip and they like learn data like across. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
my students would love that.
that would seriously, I think that's awesome too, because I mean, how many times do you go on field trips in school? Not that many, and you get to
Yeah,
create your own.
Yeah.
that's so cool.
I like it a lot. Definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So I was just really excited about it. I think this is definitely probably my favorite tool that we've talked about, and this is actually our last discussion with the tools. But I'm really happy that I got to hear everybody's. And does anyone have any final input before we go?
No, I think that we learned a lot with this whole experience. I'm really excited to use a lot of these tools, in my placement and my methods classes, and then eventually, the most important part when, we're out being teachers. I think it's really um, useful and valuable that we have it all here, and we can always refer back to this. What ideas did we all come up with, because we've all come up with so many cool and useful and creative applications for all these tools. Just today, like with Alyssa and her example to use Paris and with her tool, I thought that was really creative, something I probably wouldn't have thought about. So I really like that we had this experience. So.
Yeah, I agree, and we can watch back. Well, I agree with you guys, and have a good rest of your week. Thanks for sharing.
Bye.
Bye.